My name is Albert Pirro. I've got a lifetime of restaurant experience, including 18 years of bartending, designing cocktails, consulting on bar menus, and competing in cocktail competitions. I've set out to challenge the best mixologists in the world to the ultimate bartending battle. I will go to the coolest bars, learn about the greatest spirits, and challenge the most talented bartenders as we twist, stir, and shake the freshest original and classic cocktails anywhere. So grab a dram and settle in. It's time for Mixology's main event as we find out who's got the most spirit for spirits. Hey, we are here today at the Winslow, 14th Street in Manhattan, amazing gin bar. And bartender Caitlin Moorhead has been doing some amazing Negroni twists. We're gonna run inside, challenge Caitlin to a duel, put my Negroni skills against hers, and see who has the most spirit for spirits. Are you Miss Caitlin Moorhead?
I am.
Caitlin, my name is Albie. We've heard that you make one of the best Negronis in all of Manhattan.
Well, you heard correct.
Excellent. Now, I'm wondering if you put your medal against mine in a little Negroni Showdown.
Yes, I believe.
Excellent.
I could do that.
It's on. It's so on.
It's
now,
so on.
I would never issue a challenge without having done my homework first. So, you should know I just came from a small distillery called Little Water Distilling in Atlantic City, New Jersey. They make a cute little gin called Rusted Revolver. I believe I saw a bottle floating behind your bar.
You did. You did see one.
Excellent.
Back there. Yeah.
Now, I also got to learn all about the history of a Negroni and how to build one. So, I would never come into a place unprepared.
All right.
So, let's see what my prep looked like.
I am prepared.
We're on location today at Little Water Distillery in the heart of Atlantic City, New Jersey. In preparation for our Negroni competition against Caitlin at the Winslow, we've come to this fine little small batch distiller to find out a little bit more about how gin is made. And they've just launched a new gin down here called Rusted Revolver with a whole bunch of really cool, locally sourced botanicals. We're to go in, meet with Mark Ganter, and see if we can't find out what this Little Water has to offer. Mark!
Albie, how are you?
Good, so nice to see you again. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming down.
Cool, beautiful facility. Can't wait to show it off to everybody.
All right.
We'll eventually get to this gin, but I know you guys do a whole lot more here. What else you got here? What's the deal here at Little Water?
Well, we're craft distillery, the first one, probably the only one for a very long time in Atlantic City. We have 5 independent brands right now, partially independent, and that's where we're staying for a while. We got to that point, and that's all I want to manage here. I want to really kind of develop these core products.
Beautiful. I mean, we're standing in front of some beautiful barrels. So
Yep.
what comes in the barrel, brother? As I know it ain't the gin.
No, it's not the gin, actually. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, there'll never be a gin and barrel in this distillery, but my distiller thinks otherwise. So right now, what we're doing is we're aging 100% corn spirit in this.
Awesome.
It becomes 60% of our white cap whiskey. These are once used bourbon barrels from A. Smith Bowman in Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Beautiful.
Oldest distillery in Virginia. Speaks to the corruption in this industry. They opened the day after Prohibition with a 30,000 square foot facility. Turned the keys on and started making whiskey. Over here are 25-gallon new charred American oak barrels from Kelvin Cooper. They're aging the wheat rye, which makes up the other 40% of white cap whiskey. Prosperity rum, which is the flagship of our rum line. A few other small projects. We have a bourbon that's the same base, the 60-20-20, 60% corn, 20 wheat, 20 rye.
Right.
And that's for the Atlantic City Boxing Hall of Fame. So we get to do
Oh,
some
beautiful.
fun stuff in Atlantic City.
Cool. So I know you got some other good stuff. So that's the white cap
our white
that
cap.
you do here. We mentioned the Prosperity rum.
Yep.
Which I have a feeling was this beforehand.
Correct. This is our Liberty rum. This is the workhorse. While Prosperity is a flagship. It's 100% molasses based. We use molasses that comes from 3 sugar producing states in the contiguous U.S., Florida, South Carolina, Louisiana. It's a very slow distillation. We consider this a colonial style rum. Initial nutrients are used to kind of kick off the fermentation, but other than that, it's just fermenting on its own for about 23, 24 days.
Nice. Right here.
Right in those tanks behind us. We'll get to those in a second. Beautiful. 48 blocks vodka. This only came into existence because we were making gin, and we shelved the gin program for about 1.5 years while we waited for the botanicals to mature in the garden and kind of get that whole recipe down. And we found ourselves like 6 months in, smack dab in the middle of vodka town, and it's all anyone gives a crap about in Atlantic City. So we took this base that we selected for our gin. It's a French wheat distilled in the Netherlands. We source it at 192 proof. It gets proof to 80 for 48 blocks vodka. And then we finish it over oyster shells from Cape May.
Oh, cool.
Oyster shells release a fair amount of calcium in the finishing process. And it really just puts this smooth finish on a very creamy, silky French wheat vodka. Qualitatively, this is probably one of our most unique products. I love them all. You know, everyone asks who's your favorite job. Well, he's sitting up front.
That's it.
Right where you should be.
But this one's probably gonna be the doctor. And this one's gonna like be the first one to have kids in the family. This one's gonna be the one that brings the hot chicks home. So they're all
the baby. So this becomes our base. This source grain alcohol becomes our base when we get to here.
French wheat distilled alcohol.
Right, it's going to bring us right here
to
what we came for today, to really learn about.
I'm glad you did.
I mean, you have so many great products, but I'm really excited to learn about something. The word indigenous is what really jumps out to me. Something cool, special, and different.
Yeah, it's something we struggle with too. That was about 15 iterations with the TTV getting indigenous approved on the front of the label.
Wow, pretty neat.
We're there.
What a great thing. It's something that makes it mean so much more than local.
Yeah, terroir.
Yeah,
that's really what it is.
Yeah, and it's a great way for this industry to go, especially with things like gin, with alcohol, where we're sourcing the wheat from somewhere else in a whole other part of the world, but we're still able to make something really local, special that is specific to the Atlantic City region in South Jersey. So I know you pointed over this way to where some of the fermentation is happening. I see you've got some really great stuff in this facility. We've got some of the fermentation tons.
We start with molasses, a 275-gallon tote. It's 3,100 pounds when full.
Right.
And our forklift just crapped out this week, which made it really fun. It's a premium grade A molasses, again, from the 3 states that produce sugar in the contiguous U.S.
Cool.
We introduced 50 gallons of that molasses, 250 gallons of warm filtered water that we actually recapture from our cooling process during distillation, capturing these tanks up here.
No waste.
No waste.
Use it all. Use it all.
Exactly.
Nicely done. Well, especially in a small facility, it's very important.
And a place where you have to pay for your water. So
yeah.
We start the fermentation of these tanks. So it's pumped over to the still. Rosa over here.
Oh, shall we meet Rosa? Is it time?
Let's do it.
Let's meet Rosa.
Let's get her up.
Morning, Rosa. Good morning, Rosa.
Rosa was actually named after my grandmother. She came. Yeah, no, trust me, it's very dear to me too. I mean, everything that's cool about this distillery, everything that kind of like spawned this idea came from her. She was born in Slovenia, just fled a couple world wars, ended up in the U.S. And like one of the most endearing stories she ever told me was kind of growing up in Slovenia. They make schlivovitz. That's the swill of that part of the world. And she said, if you wanted to sleep in a warm room, you always slept in the still house, because if there was any firewood left over at night, it wasn't going to the kitchen, it wasn't going to the living room, it was going to the still house. So that's where you slept. So this is Rosa.
Nice to meet you, Rosa.
She lives on.
Thanks for being here.
We pump the fermented molasses, the wash, as it's called in rum parlance, into the still. There's a steam boiler 2 rooms back. Sends steam into this jacket, and it brings the contents up to temperature. We get to around 149, 150, and that's what moonshiners say kind of kills you, makes you blind. That's the methanol. So we want to get that off. We separate that, and we use it for cleaning or just telling jokes or poisoning the unwanted guests that show up on weekends. Once we reach that temperature, alcohols start to vaporize through the column. They come up through this column, into that tube called a line arm, passes over here into this 3rd cylinder, or column rather, and there's a cold water line that's running through, and that condenses the vapor back into a liquid, and we capture in these tanks. Now this baby here is a gin basket. We sourced that and configured that especially for Rusty Revolver. We were designing this facility initially for rum, knowing downstream we do a whiskey, it's a 4-plate whiskey column, but it's also idealized for rum, the gin basket. And it's been sitting here, unused for almost 2 years, and we've finally gotten to the point where we were ready to roll this out. It's exciting to see this thing kind of on crooked because it's actually been opened up. You see a little bit of sediment, a few grains, and some botanicals.
This is real. This is how it gets made.
We'll talk to the cleaning staff on Monday about that.
So in the gin make, you'd be putting that base we talked about, that same sourced from the Netherlands.
100% French wheat. Yeah. Wheat sourced from the Netherlands, proof back down to 80 proof. So
and then still from there.
Yeah,
so proof to first.
It has to be proof down. Some of the botanicals, we'll talk about those later on. Some of the heavier ones will go into the pot itself. So the lighter ones will actually go into a
vapor basket.
Well, yeah, it's more like a tea bag. A couple of them, because you got to configure all these botanicals into this chamber. And sometimes you learn after you start doing it, right? This could have been a little bit bigger, but it is what it is, and it works perfectly because the recipe and the product speaks for itself. But yeah, so the vapors get rounded down, and they come into the bottom, and they push up. So heat is always chasing cold, because there's a cold water line running through this and cooling the inside of that. The vapors will automatically, once that valve's shut, kind of chase through here
and find itself.
Push up through the botanicals, basically creating that tea. Rise up again, over and down, and that's how Rusty Revolver's made.
So how many botanicals are you able to force into this hole?
About a metric shit ton, but As much as we possibly can. And about 30% of those lighter botanicals actually go back into the pot. So the heavier ones, coriander, juniper berry, all go into that pot. And then probably 30% of the lighter ones. The ratios are all proprietary, but that I don't know.
Of course.
Like Distiller does.
Yeah, that is his job.
Otherwise, I quote him to the gram. And then they come out, and we're actually working with a couple breweries right now to do a reuse of the botanicals. Well, they'll make a Saison style beer.
Oh, sweet.
Because the botanicals are so aromatic, so strong, and after they've been heated for about 5 hours, they still have a ton of that essential oil left, and it's of course been activated. And it just presents this beautiful aroma that someone's going to kill it on a beer recipe with.
Nice. So it all comes off that still. We've got a wonderful run of gin, which I would really love to taste.
You're in luck. I have some.
Oh my goodness! I'm so excited to give it a whirl. Thank you so much, Mark. What a wonderful setup. I can't believe the things I'm looking at. As a big gin fan myself, I am so incredibly stoked to bring some of these really cool botanicals to everyone right now. So before we get to this crazy basket, what are we looking at over here, man? I love this.
So this is a sampling of the 16 botanicals used in Rusty Revolver. Again, we saw, to try and create an indigenous gin recipe. Not every single botanical is sourced right here on the ground or in this immediate area, but the vast majority of the most kind of prominent ones are. One of the ones that I went back and forth with my distiller on endlessly was something called Black Aronia. We originally sought to use something called beach plum, which is almost synonymous with the region, and everyone has this youthful story about going out and picking beach plums with aunt or grandmom or whatever. Heading down that path and realized that beach plum crop failed last year, and it's very, very weather sensitive. And we're like, all right, that's not going to be it's not going to be great for trying to make a perennial favorite if we have to rely on a good year for the crop to do well. So we settled on something a little bit more indigenous, a little more resilient, and frankly a little more pungent, called Black Aronia. That grows in Ocean View, about 35 minutes up the road. It grows in other regions as well, but there's a great farm that grows Black Aronia, makes different jams and preserves with it, and just delicious organic crop. Literally will survive a hurricane, a tornado, and Godzilla all at the same time. It's just the most resilient thing. Anyway, we sourced that. Black Aronia is one of the key botanicals on the label. We called out top 5 of my favorite 5.
Right.
So Black Aronia, pitch pine, which is right up the road near Pine Barrens. Literally cut with a set of clippers every time we distill by my distiller on his way in.
Amazing.
Chamomile flower, coriander, both of which we grow in the garden outside. Juniper, which is essential in all gins, of course, in the gin recipe. And that's what's represented on the label. And we have another 11 or 12 here that can sit dry in a canister and be sampled during our tastings. Others have to be fresh or kind of refrigerated.
So all of these things end up, as we said before, in that little...
in the gin basket.
The basket
and
canister.
the pot, right?
And then it comes out like this.
Yeah. So this is actually the satchel that we put the lighter botanicals in, and we put into that gin basket kind of chamber. This was from
I don't even need to put my face all the way
Yeah,
down
no.
in there, Mark. It's amazing.
It really is kind of amazing. I mean, the way it comes out after it's been basically heated for 5-6 hours, the flavors have melted. Would you like a handful?
Man,
Yes, you may.
I need to get in this.
For me to you.
I mean, I need to get in this.
It makes a
I'm gonna
phenomenal
go ahead and put my
aftershave
whole face
too.
in
Check
it.
this out.
Oh my goodness.
The herbal goodness. And the oils are really
Oh my
incredible,
God,
too.
gin for the win. Instantly, of course, the earthiness of what makes these botanicals so special. What you can see here are all these pine needles, which are, of course, indigenous from the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. There's what looks like a pickle on top, of course. That
There's
is.
a fresh cucumber that was in a gin basket for about 5 or 6 hours.
Oh my
and
God.
Comes out looking like a pickle.
Oh my God, and the berries that come through too. There's a couple different kinds in there that we're looking at, right?
Yep, so we have a xantha currant, we
Right.
have the black aronia we talked about. Those are the 2 berries you're seeing.
Yeah.
Obviously juniper berry, I'm
Oh my
sorry.
goodness.
That's in
And
there
juniper,
also.
of course. And then.
And every-
Got your little cinnamon stick when you need it.
Exactly.
Oh, the smell on that is insane.
Yeah,
I
it is
mean,
pretty good. I actually, I throw it in the garden when we're done too. It's not going to a brewery, it goes in the garden, it just kind of remulches.
Oh my
may or
goodness.
may not survive that last tasting, we'll see later on.
It's incredible. I can't wait to get into the actual gin itself.
Yeah.
Knowing and seeing what this smells like, looks like, tastes like, all these separate pieces before it becomes gin, super helpful in what we're about to discover, become the prominent flavor profile of the Rusty Revolver.
Yeah, actually funny, you just pointed something out for me. This is before, this is during, and this is after.
Exactly.
Right, so maybe I'll use that in my next tour.
Beautiful. Well, I can't wait to get my nose in this one. So let's go through it, shall we?
I have the nose and the palate of a cinder block. So that's one of the reasons I'm happy you're here today. I want to kind of see what you get out of it. One of the more prominent things I get in the nose, obviously, is the pine and the juniper kind of dancing together. And they create that Christmas tree effect that makes some people love gin and some people hate gin.
Yeah,
I'm on the love side myself.
Having just been through this basket, of course, the fruits are what is jumping out at me. The sweetness of fruit, the tartness of fruit. You have the 3 different kinds of berries, orange peel. Those things
lemon peel as well, which
lemon as well.
I've found, in our recent tastings, a lot of people kind of call out that citrus note in the nose. The chamomile flower, in spite of the limited ratios we use, really does give it like this flowery overtone, which I think kind of tames a little bit of that pine and that juniper. But the meld is really worked out nicely for us in this recipe.
The idea was creating balance, right? So well, we have some of those really interesting flowery notes on the nose, the zest of orange, the sweetness of berries, the tartness of berries. Of course, we're trying to get through that pine, the earthiness of that.
They're augmented, I think, by the sage and at times some kind of classic herbs.
Well, you're like original 4 gin make when gin was ginny gin. And this
came in a bathtub and tastes like this.
It's just so much different. The fact that these are so local and flavors of the area. Something that I noticed on the way in, and I also notice here, of course, is the salty sea air. It changes the way everything is. The way your palate is laid out. The idea of salt's really completing a palate. That helps on your nose as well. Just having that in the air here really brings the rest of these things to life.
The region, the climate is so amazing for what we're doing here. The garden itself outside grows on its own. There's nothing you do to kill it. I mean, it's just the cucumbers were planted about a week ago. A rack went in this morning before you guys got here. And I guarantee by next week we'll see sprouts and flowers coming. At that point, you try to get in front of it. You try to control it. But we'll be cutting 15, 20 cucumbers a day in the beginning and like 50 the day after that. Cucumbers everywhere. The cocktails, the water, my lunch.
Something for the eyes. A little something for the eyes for the morning.
One of our add-on services.
Well, I can't wait to get a little palate on this now that we've done
it, shall we?
Thank you so much for having us. The berries just continue right through the center of this palate. You talked about the creaminess of that actual spirit before too. The actual texture of the palate, really nice, really full mouthfeel, really great.
And that was the whole reason we sourced and started with that product. I wanted to have a really luscious, creamy kind of base to layer these flavors on top of. Most neutral spirits are over distilled or distilled to neutrality, which is one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of vodka, but I absolutely love our vodka and I love the base for this gin because it just gives. It's almost like you're just making a wonderful sandwich on a piece of Stroman's, no offense to Stroman's, or it's just this lovely artisan, thick, crusty, rich, like weighty baked bread.
I mean, the two things, let's say right off that, of course, the creaminess of it, you can see it in the legs, I can see it in the actual viscosity of the liquid itself. The next thing comes to mind is that creaminess with this orange peel, this lemon peel, like this little creamsicle finish to this thing that's really wonderful. The dancing of that with the spiciness of cinnamon with the spiciness of pine together.
I want to bottle that description up and sell it. That was pretty awesome.
Really wonderful together. And the way those things work together, and now I'm in my finish as I'm talking, getting it back through my nose, getting some of the more bitter finishes of what juniper really offers as a bittering agent, angelica root, with not just the floral element of that, but the actual bittering agent of it on the backside. This is wonderful stuff.
Well, thank you.
The last thing I think that is just sort of lightly finishing through here are those classic herbs. As I'm coming back to the nose on it now.
Yeah, it's almost has like a peppery finish, which I think is coming from, I assume, the thyme and the sage.
The thyme and sage, I think, on the finish of that are really super interesting to me. That's really wonderful. The sage back on the nose, what an interesting way to go.
It's funny, in trying to make gin, it's tough to commit, because if you enjoy gin, you enjoy things like these Mediterranean-style gins, things that are coming from Scotland now, things that are coming from Ireland, all different parts of the world, and just some of the classic gin recipes from London. And I love them all, so it's like, how do you take all of those wonderful flavors and recipes and try and put them into something that isn't overwhelmingly complicated, allows these various kind of positive flavors, enticing flavors to sort of shine through on their own. And I'll tell you, when you're making gin, it's really fascinating because you check, as you do when you're distilling, every 15, 20 minutes you're tasting, and the flavors come through sequentially.
Sure.
It doesn't taste like this throughout the process. It's like one after the other. It's just amazing to see how they get released at different temperatures and stages. And you're like, oh my God, if this all comes together in this perfect balance, and we get really excited.
So like you fire them off one at a time, kind of like a revolver?
Yeah,
I
somewhat
like
like a
that.
revolver.
I see what you did there.
16-chamber revolver.
Well, we don't not have a 16 one, but just curious about the name because I know there's a fun little story to it. Where does the name come from as well?
So it was really, it's a fun one. And when we go out and look at the garden and the side lot, when we were building out and kind of doing the excavation, you know, we found ourselves on top of this like Prohibition era burial ground. There were nothing but bars and taverns. We're in the north end of Atlantic City, kind of smattering of them around this block. There was a hotel here, and you know, during Prohibition, Atlantic City was officially open, right? It was officially ignored. What do you do with all that glass that you're creating, like, you know, day in, day out? You just throw it in the backyard and cover it up. Atlantic City, you know, historically, it's just reinvented itself so many times, and each time it kind of turns over. That is to say that you cannot put a shovel in the ground out back without breaking Prohibition-era glass. And, you know, gentlemen had been coming here for about 15 years, just digging and digging and digging, excavating these bottles and selling them on the collector's market. And one day, he unearths this 1875 .38 caliber Hopkin Allen snub-nose revolver.
Right here on the ground.
Right here on the ground, and it just walks in the door while we are like building this place out and don't want any distractions. But he walks in with this thing, and we're like, "You're invited. Bring that over." And we just talked about it, and we mounted it in our bathroom in a little picture box next to a bunch of other Prohibition-era glass. And I was just dying to use it for something. I wanted to incorporate that into a brand. And knowing that we were trying to create a gin recipe from, you know, things that are derived from the ground around us. The rusted revolver that also came from the ground right behind us was the perfect kind of tie-in for that. We probably spent as much time on the label and the name of the concept as we did the gin. Take that back. Way more time on the label, the concept, the artwork than we did the gin. But well worth it in the end because I'm fascinated and ecstatic about this product. I love tasting people on it because they love the flavor profile. I think they're really kind of intrigued by the story of how it came together.
Sure.
You know, the eye candy on the label is just a bonus.
Well, it's beautiful. The product is beautiful. The nose is wonderful. The palate's amazing. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these, especially the oranges and the spices and the creaminess of this is really going to flow into our Negroni.
Yeah,
thank you so much. I know you have someone special for us to walk us through a classic Negroni as we finish out our research portion for the competition here against Caitlin at the Winslow. Mark, thanks so much.
Thank you.
We're going to get a little Negroni time now with Dustin.
Very good.
We're ready to learn our classic Negroni. We have with us a master mixologist, our good friend here on the show, Mr. Dustin Norton. Dustin, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
With
Thanks
us.
for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man.
it.
So you're gonna give us this classic build of a Negroni. We're going into this competition. Can't wait to taste some of this beautiful gin that we just went through and see how that relates to some of these other flavors. So you want to give us the story, give us the whole thing, give us a little walkthrough, and give us a build.
Yeah, nice and easy. You know, Negroni is probably one of the most classic cocktails around. It's one of the original ones coming out of Italy. Count Negroni, that whole family back in Florence, I believe it was. He used to drink the Campari sweet vermouth mix all the time and decided to need a bit of a kick. And one day they, we'll throw some gin in there. Boom. That became the Negroni cocktail. And of course, in the day we're in now, all the classics are coming back. You know, Gibson's Gimlets, Negronis, Bouvardiers, all these cocktails that they produced back way when alcohol still tasted terrible, are making a huge comeback. Well, it's funny because, I mean, you think about the liquor now that's produced, like, for example, the rusted revolver, you could drink that on the rocks by itself. It doesn't really need an added ingredient. Whereas back in the day, when they used to produce alcohol, it was so harsh tasting, they needed to mix the vermouth, Campari, all those different elements to create a cocktail that was actually drinkable.
Yes, well, let's create one that is drinkable,
Absolutely,
shall we?
Yeah, no problem at all. So Negroni, easiest cocktail in the world, 3 equal parts. We're using Little Waters' phenomenal rusted revolver, new release. Very exciting, nice gin profile, a lot of juniper notes, nice and easy drinking. It's definitely a gin you could use to make multiple cocktails. There's a lot of new botanical gins that are produced that are a little bit away from classic. You couldn't make a dirty martini with them. You know, a classic dry martini, that you could easily make any martini. So first, the sweet vermouth. Next, the Campari. So Campari is an aperitif. It's got a little bitter aftertaste, a little sweet as well. So that sort of breaks down, you know, the alcohol basis of the gin and sort of helps emulate the juniper flavor of it.
3 easy ingredients.
Super
Doesn't
easy.
get much easier than that, right?
Yep. Easy as it gets. The lice.
Easy quick stir. One of my favorite things to do in the whole world.
I know, it's so funny. I was taught by a bartender when I first started bartending that the only thing you ever shake is vodka. And he made it very specific. That the only thing that you ever shake is vodka. He said everything else deserves to be stirred because alcohol should be treated with respect. It was the first time and the last time I've ever heard that. So we take a nice fresh orange peel. You can either put it straight in like I'm going to do today, or you could heat the edge up a little bit, warming it up, expressing the essential oils, and then light it. And it would express right into the glass. I'm going to give it a good old little squeeze there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
If you take a look, yep, you saw all the oils drop right onto that nice big rock. And there we have a classic Negroni. I will always point out the fact on using a good sweet vermouth. Because you use a Martini Rosso or something like that, it would completely change the profile of your drink.
Well, Dustin, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
To you.
Cheers.
Let's put our face in this and see how this works with the flavor profile of the Rusted Revolver we just went through. Of course, the first thing, what a beautiful orange note. That zest comes out beautifully. Well done.
Yep. Thank you.
That is a delight. It's an interesting concept about these three ingredients and how they work together. We talked about some of them with the Rusted Revolver earlier, especially the orange peel and the spice notes. How this creates a big giant circle for us, where we have the orange peel going into our really orange bitter aperitif right here, and then the earthiness and some of the really fun spices of cinnamon, that angelica root, that floral capacity kicks us right into our vermouth area, and then of course the creaminess of that original distillate that we talked about really just rounds out this entire thing and brings us into, which is probably Little Italy's creamsicle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Dustin, thank you so much. That's
My
delightful.
pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
I appreciate it so much.
Lovely to
The
meet you
Negroni,
guys.
I feel like I'm so ready to take on Caitlin at the Winslow.
Absolutely.
But first, we'll have a Negroni. We are back. Now, the thing we're gonna need for this competition is a couple of judges. We need somebody to decide whose Negroni is better. Now, in my opinion, the only person's opinion that should really matter are the people drinking it. So, these fine patrons in the bar, would you do us the honor of being the judges for this competition? All right, cool. Now, are you ready to mix?
I am ready.
I am ready to mix.
I am ready.
We're gonna need somebody to count us down into this competition. You think you can do that for us? Yeah. All right, coming down in 3, 2, 1. Build them up. All right, here we go.
All right, I see you.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I see you, baby. Oh, no
the
worries.
winner should probably
No
have
worries.
a little bit more space.
Sharing is caring. All right?
All right.
Sharing is caring.
Welcome to the Winslow. Move.
Welcome to New York. Get out of the way.
Thanks for coming. No, get out.
Beautiful. Gorge.
Get my hands on that guy.
Oh, yeah. It's taking you so long over there.
It's
right?
my first day.
Yeah.
So. All
Nice.
right.
And our favorite part, the part where we both stir.
But look
Yeah.
good doing it. Come on. Come on. Oh, I don't hear you.
Stir with a blind fury, Caitlin. Awesome.
Ooh,
I love these mixing glasses as well.
right. Makes everything pretty.
Oh, you're already ready? I gotta do one thing real quick.
Oh, did you bring a little torch?
Of course I did.
That's all flash and
Everything's better with fire.
circumstance. It is. Whatever you do, you need to feel like you are going above and beyond. But mine just tastes really good, so.
All right. We're not that worried about it, are we? Awesome. Yes. Oh, one more little piece.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
It's a perfect Akamoto cube. Yeah, you know, it's a thing.
I feel like you said something about me taking a while, though.
Well, that
That's
looks like we've got it. Yeah. Go ahead. Beautifully done. Now we need to know, what did we do here? What made them special? What made them different? Please, as I am a visitor, please take the reins and tell us
Absolutely.
what you
So
got.
Yeah, so there's a lot of takes you can do on a Negroni. This one for me was a bit more of a summery take as we come into the spring-summer season. So I did, we have 2 vermouths. It's a dry vermouth at Noli Prats that I've infused, one with lavender and one with coffee grounds.
Awesome.
So I did a lavender vermouth rinse, so I just dumped it so you get it on the nose. And then it's equal parts of the coffee vermouth, obviously the gin, and Grand Classico is my bitter. Stir it up, a little mole bitters, and serve. Do it neat and without garnish because it's very aromatic and nice, and simple. So I hope you enjoy it.
Beautiful. What's the name of your drink?
Turn your head and coffee.
Turn your head and coffee. So nicely done. So nicely done, Caitlin. I can't wait to taste it. It looks awesome. We've seen us go through what I learned at the Little Water Distillery for my cocktail. The thing that stuck out to me about that really small distillery was how they're trying to do so many local things. You'll see on the bottle a bunch of the pine needles. I actually grew up at the Jersey Shore. The pine needles, the pine barrens are very familiar to me. It really hit home and struck me, especially the greenness of this gin and how I could marry all that together. So we started with that gin with that really nice piney front. The Punta Maize as the sweetener in the center. And instead of a classic Campari orange style bitter, we went to Cynar. Cynar is made with artichokes, comes from Italy. It's a very green and earthy way to really make the botanicals pop. The last thing I did here was some locally foraged small size pine needles that I dried out and I could burn so that I could get the scent of that burning pine like a bonfire at my house as a kid. That same sort of idea for me, and a little bit of my home, smoke to the inside of that glass. Using the long stems as the garnish is a lightly smoky, herbaceous, piney twist on a Negroni, which I call the Jersey Devil.
Yeah.
Caitlin, thank you so much. Let's pass out some taste and get a little bit for everybody. Let's see where this thing's gonna go. What do you say?
I say let's do this.
Let's get
All
into it.
right.
Well, it appears that all of the votes have been counted, and to my absolute chagrin, nothing but defeat. But congratulations to Miss Caitlin here at the Winslow with her cocktail, Turn Your Head and Coffee. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's an amazing cocktail and something you guys are doing that's really special down here.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. I think because you're up for challenges, I think your next one should probably be Lucas at Tanner Smith's. He's doing some amazing things with rum, and I think rum maybe might have a little bit better luck.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. We're going to head up to Tanner Smith's, work on some rum cocktails against Mr. Lucas. But that's next time on Spirit for Spirits. Oh, our first L. What a tough day. But great work by the team here at Winslow and by Caitlin Moorhead. Amazing stuff down here, 14th Street in Manhattan. But for us, it's on to challenge Lucas Wild to a daiquiri duel at Tanner Smith's. But that's next time on Spirit for Spirits. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to check out some of our other cool stuff we got going on. We've got the locally sourced segments you can check out. We've got the quick classics to check out. And of course, head over to Instagram and TikTok and check out the behind the stick segments from my home bar. And also a big thanks to our bar tools sponsor, Bull & China. Don't forget to go to their site right there, bullandchinapdx.com. Use the promo code S4S-hookup to get your 15% off. And we'll see you next time on Spirit for Spirits.